Coach PJ here. Do you ever want to have a side hustle? Have you considered doing work outside of your day job to make a little extra money? Well, this young lady does, and she gets into the jewelry business. And she's saying she's making $350,000 a year. I don't know if that's much of a side hustle, but this is what she does. Let's take a look.
I think my aesthetic in a nutshell is the girls that get it, get it. Like, if you know, you know. My name is Maya Portorreal. I'm 27 years old, and I made $350,000 last year from my side hustle. So right out of college, I wanted to initially be a fashion designer. So I realized designing fashion is really expensive, and I had a hard time making the money in order to get the patterns made, get the samples made, and actually produce and sell the line. So I was only a month and a half in, and I was sitting in the office with my two associates, and I said, I'm going to start a jewelry brand. And they thought I was insane. They probably still think I'm insane because I pulled it off. So I really only started this business with roughly $2,000. It took me about a month and a half to develop the idea, get the process going, and I started with just a single ring. So initially, when I found my suppliers, they had private label. And private label means that you can essentially put your name on a design they already have. So CAD is pretty much a 3D render of your concept. So you'll have the top of the ring, the bottom of the ring, what the inside detail looks like. If we're going to stamp your company name inside, it gives you a 360 view of the ring. And then once I found my first product, I called her Rhea. It took me forever to think of that name. I went on babynames.com for that one. I found Rhea, and I was ready to go. John Dan was one of the first influencers who gave my business a real shot. She was the first influencer to post my jewelry, which kind of started the trickle of other girls wanting to work with me and respecting the brand.
Let's stop there for a minute. A couple key things. One is she mentioned that she has a $45,000 day job. So this is her side hustle. She did it because she wanted to get into the fashion side, and some of the ability to create designs was expensive. Also said she told her friends, and her friends told her she was crazy. That's not unusual, but it's also not the people you want to surround yourself with. You want to surround yourself with people who are believe in your dreams and are willing to be excited about your dreams just like you. Not someone who thinks your dreams are crazy or stupid or insignificant or impractical. Those are the folks you don't want to be around as an entrepreneur. You notice that she has a lot of rings on her finger, on her fingers, on her hands. So it is something she's very passionate about. She obviously is a wearer of rings, and that's huge when you're looking at a side hustle because you got to really love it. And then she mentioned private label, which is an important aspect because there's lots of leverage in a private label. You just don't have to do as much work to get your product, and therefore the margins tend to be higher. Let's keep watching.
She just randomly posted her new nail set, her new acrylic, and my one ring. And from there, I got my first sale, and believe it or not, I was underpricing like crazy. That ring cost me maybe $7 to make, and I sold it for $18.99 and was very excited about it. My first month, it was like 0, 0. But then by the fourth month, I went from 0 to $500. And then 500 quickly became 1,000. And then a couple months in, I was doing 10,000 a month. Now, 10,000 a month means, we can finally pay for the subway. So once I started to get a consistent 10 grand a month, I knew this business could actually change my life in a real way. So I know 10,000 may sound like a lot, but believe it or not, because I was testing influencers, trying to run ads, constantly buying new products, constantly buying packaging. I didn't take home as much as you may think. At that time, I was probably taking home only 3,500 of that 10 grand. Within 6 months of running this business, I was beginning to see I could do a six-figure year. And then
So she makes a couple interesting points. Oftentimes businesses, especially startups, they talk about how their sales. They talk about sales. It's important to talk about margin. It's important to talk about how much you're actually taking home. As she said, she poured most of it back into the business so that it could grow. But it still is a matter of you're putting a lot of time, a little energy. It's not paying the bills because she's putting it all back in the business. Really important. She started the business on $2,000, which isn't a lot, but it is her savings, and that makes a difference. And then also, she's using influencers. That is a wild card. You're trying to find an influencer that likes your product, that uses your products, that will showcase your product. You really have to work hard at that or be incredibly lucky and a little bit of both. So the fact that she had influencers on her side makes a huge difference because it just changes the game.
And from there, I began taking classes on ads, writing captions, how to find influencers. That class alone scaled my company to a point that's unimaginable. That $3,000 class probably made me 700,000 because Facebook ads has become an extensive part of my business and it can't run without it. And from there, that 10 grand became 30 grand. Everyone thought I was crazy because I was working two full-time jobs. I would work during my lunch break. I would bring my laptop to my job. During my lunch break, I would eat in the basement by myself, trying to talk to my manufacturers, trying to DM influencers, trying to make money while I'm at work on break. And then I would go home and essentially, as soon as I got home, I would begin my second shift. Because believe it or not, now that you made some money, you have to get the product out. So, bless my family, they would hear me pulling tape until 3 a.m. It was so loud, and my stepdad makes jokes about having nightmares of hearing tape because my mom does it now. I don't pay myself a huge salary, mainly because my business pays a lot of my expenses, and I like where I live. So I try.
Makes a couple of points. One is she wasn't afraid of hard work. She wasn't afraid of putting in the second shift, which is really important because it often requires that hard work element. She also invested in her education. She spent $3,000. That's a lot of money when you don't have huge numbers and you're not taking home that money to invest in her education, which was key to the marketing, key to her learning how to write copy, how to write ads, how to push her product online. Also, very, very important. And then, you talk about, how much your profitability and what you're doing with the money, putting it back in the business. There's a lot of elements to that. And she's growing her line and she's growing it and she just keeps putting things back into the business. She's not making a ton, but she is growing the business to her level. And maybe someday she will do this full time. But people don't talk about what the profitability is often enough. Let's keep watching.
Try not to put too much weight on my business by paying myself a lot and having all of my personal expenses from my business. Mom gets a nice little salary. We go from boss employee to mom and daughter kind of chaotically through the process. But my mom herself is an entrepreneur, so she was very easy to get on board. Mom's a tough negotiator. So we had a conversation about her salary, her role, and now she helps assist in the packaging, the customer service, and just kind of the overall. She's also like kind of my assistant. I piggyback ideas off her. I don't essentially believe in going into debt for a piece of jewelry. To me, jewelry is expression. Jewelry is supposed to be fun. Jewelry is supposed to be lived in. Over the
So interesting. She grabs, her mom is clearly an entrepreneur as well. And the fact that she's able to leverage her mom and include her mom in the business and provide a salary for her mom, pretty nice. It's a nice bonus to this element. She talks about not going into debt. She talks about leveraging the money she has in the business. Really important because she's fiscally responsible with what she has. And she's trying to use the money to the best of her ability and not overextend herself. So it's really a grassroots business where you pay for it because of the money you make and you reinvest that into the business, and you're not getting into loans and debts and things like that. She's really growing it organically. Let's watch.
Years, my collection has grown quite a bit. When I first started, I only made rings. Now I do rings, earrings, ear cuffs, necklaces, anklets, expanding into men's jewelry, expanding into stationery for the girls. A day job gives you cash flow to risk it all. A day job gives you the time to step out of your comfort zone, because now I'm in the process of automating my business. I did the hustle. I did the grind. Now I want it to work for me. And you'll realize you get to a point where you can burn out if you're constantly beating the pavement every single day to make those sales. So this year it's more about building systems and being stable and being more profitable versus just throwing the crazy numbers and then never actually having profit. I want to be more customer centric this year. I'm starting a nonprofit for my business to help other small female owners in the future. I used to struggle with the concept of I have to show people I'm selling things. I have to photograph behind Gucci bags. And you don't. It's kind of a waste of money to me, but you don't have to be a social entrepreneur to be a successful entrepreneur.
She makes some great points at the end. She makes a great point on systems and the business working without her. And those systems are super important. How she selects product, how she goes to market with the product, what her social media elements are. Systems are the backbone of any successful business. And she's at a point now where she's starting to implement those and be able to step away a little bit more from the business. So if you're looking for a side hustle, you're looking for some inspiration, take a look. If you have a video that you'd like me to take a look at, put it in the comments below. And until next time, your business profit.